And that brings me now to the season prospects for Arsenal. The likelihood that Arsenal has strengthened enough to chase down a Chelsea. Where as you talked about sort of we talked about the momentum coming from the preseason into the start of the Premier League season. Where has Arsenal gotten better? Where do they still need to get better as the window gets ready to close shortly?
I think we've over the last couple of years on this show we've seen we've spoken about Arsenal needing to improve, and Arsenal have improved. I think that's fair to say. 2 trophies. The squad is a lot better than it was a couple of seasons ago. Certainly 2 summers ago, the Arsenal squad was much inferior to what it is now. And if you look yesterday, Arsenal did what they did yesterday without Alexis Sanchez. There was no Thomas Rosicky, no Callum Chambers, no David Ospina, no Jack Wilshere, no Matthew Flamini, no Danny Welbeck. They weren't even in the squad or on the bench. So we're looking at Arsenal having a far deeper squad than they've had in recent years. And I think what becomes more challenging when you've got a squad that's significantly improved is that it becomes more difficult to find players who can improve it further, which is why you're seeing Arsenal linked with somebody like Karim Benzema. A few years ago, people were saying players like Scott Parker and Christopher Samba could improve Arsenal.
Right.
Clearly, that's nonsense. They wouldn't have, but that was the sort of level of frustration that people had. That it was like, well, that guy could do it, and now you're looking, well, who can improve it? There's every team in the world can be improved in certain areas. I think Arsenal could probably improve in the striking position if they can find the right player or if they can get the right player. But I think the squad is as healthy as it has been for as long as I can remember. And even if you want to go back to the Invincible squad, which was I think it was a remarkable team, a fantastic team, but perhaps they didn't have quite the strength and depth in terms of the overall squad. And that, I think, is because football has changed. The demands and the physicality of football has changed, and it necessitates a bigger squad, But the number of players at Arsene Wenger's disposal is as good as it has been for a very long time.
It certainly seems that way. Is there a sense that some of the things that have limited Arsenal over the past couple of seasons, mostly injury? I mean, when I think we were talking about how important Aaron Ramsey was, and then when he went injured, it slowed the momentum. It slowed down Arsenal pretty significantly. You never count on Jack Wilshere at this point. How long is Jack Wilshere going to be out? I feel so bad for the kid.
I don't know. Hopefully it's not anything too bad, because he was in great shape going into this, and it seems like he's picked up an ankle injury during training. So whether he got a kick, whether he's gone over on his ankle, sprained his ankle, I don't quite know. But you hold your breath, don't you, when you hear that Jack's injured an ankle? Arsene Wenger was saying after the Community Shield that he thought it would be a matter of days, but I'll wait until we hear from the medical staff before I let myself get too hopeful.
Sure. Okay. So, but Jack's injury notwithstanding, there's depth here. There's real legitimate depth, and if you lose a Ramsey, you lose a Wilshere. You lose even a Sanchez. You have somebody to step in and help smooth out some of those bumps that have been Arsenal's problem.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can't have 25 players of the level of Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil. You just it's just not possible. Real Madrid tried to do that, didn't they, with the Galacticos, and that didn't work. So you've got to trust in the depth of your squad as well, and hope that these guys, when they come in, are A, capable of playing a part, and B, they can respond to the competitive nature of the squad, because they know that maybe their chances might be a bit limited. So when they come, they've really got to take them. They've got to show that they're ready, and they've got to give the manager some headaches. He's got to have difficult decisions to make about who's going to play in each game. So you look at something like right back, and he's an experienced French international in Mathieu Debuchy, but he's playing Hector Bellerin because Bellerin had a brilliant second half of last season. He's a really, really exciting player, but Bellerin must know that if he lets his level drop even a little bit, then Debuchy will come back into the side, and that's that's the environment that's being fostered at the moment, and it's a very healthy one.
Yeah, it certainly can work. What is difficult for a manager, I imagine, I've never been in this position, Andrew, and I never will be, but what fascinates me is the idea of squad rotation. You're not going to play the same 11 every single time out. It's just not possible.
No.
But even if you could, maybe you don't want to, especially if you have this depth. You want to be able to. You have to give players a taste of first team football or first 11 football if they're going to keep up their standard. So again, how difficult do you think it will be? I mean, it's one of those problems that every manager would love to have. Is I've got too many good players, but is Wenger in a position this season to manage that all the way to the goals of the club at this point, which again, Premier League title, Champions League success, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, it's a really good question, because as much as it's a positive to have this strength in depth, it is also a challenge to keep those players happy and to make sure that there's a harmony in the squad that's conducive to going on and winning things. You want everybody pulling in the same direction. You don't want unhappy players, not necessarily bad apples, but, you want everyone to be as happy as possible. I think probably what we'll see from Arsene Wenger this season is more tinkering or tailoring his team to the opposition than we have in the past.
Okay.
So the options that he's got up front, Giroud, Walcott, Alexis, Danny Welbeck, there might be games where Olivier Giroud is the guy to play because you need exactly what he brings the team, this sort of a target man, somebody who can hold up play, who can link play, who's good in the air. Other teams, you might want to unleash the pace of Theo Walcott on them. Those sort of options are very good for him to have. It's working out when to use them or the best way to use them, So there's a lot of football to be played also. Regardless of how things have improved from an injury point of view, there will be injuries. There will be tiredness, there'll be suspension, there'll be loss of form. So all those things necessitate a bit of squad rotation as well. Yeah. All the competitions that Arsenal are in, the Capital One Cup, the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Premier League, there is a lot of football to play, and he's going to use his squad as well as he can, I think, to ensure that they remain fresh and they remain sharp, because it can be the small things, small margins at the very top level that set you apart from your main rivals.